transfer station this morning?
Not this morning, they're pushing today, aren't they? Loading, aren't they? Yeah.
This conference will now be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They're trying to get all the trees removed Saturday.
All right. September 8th.
Back, I got the corners.
Yeah. Don't know, everybody's seen oh, I guess I'll start with public comments since we have somebody from the public.
Well, yeah, this has kind of been pretty crazy. I mean, it's really been difficult to have, public participation lately. So, and I do realize you guys are trying to do the best you can. I've been in court a few times too this way. But anyway, so I do watch some of it on TV. I go to the friend's house and stuff and watch some of the deals of movies on TV.
Yeah.
Hello? I'd rather not. I'm just public comment.
Well, that, just so it
It's
goes,
okay, nobody can hear you.
That's
You're
what
not
that-
well, that's
speaking into
all
a
right.
microphone.
the public that is out can hear you.
You recorded.
Well, then, I mean, I seen this.
I seen last week you had Pat Felstring on here. He didn't have to come on here, but that's fine.
He came over there.
He did.
Okay, pardon me, I didn't feel like it. So, anyways, I watched the show, and that letter of support from Randy, or he was asking for a letter of support a couple weeks ago. And so who are you gonna write that letter of support for the big win? Who are you gonna write that letter of support to?
We didn't do it, so.
Well, I know you didn't do it, I'm asking who were you thinking about writing to?
um,
Didn't know, just everybody?
so,
What? Okay, well, okay, and then I heard about how everybody was happy up north, and then they're not. I said there were several of them on the lawsuit with us. They have a heck of a problem with phones, and I think Diane to testify that everybody, I can give you several names, I won't, but they're having horrible problems with that. And you guys are trying to run this down our throats. I said, one thing is, and we're gonna have to go through all this over again. The Doyles are expired. We have other litigation going on right now, that's why I'm so upset. Then you have the tall grass heartland, which is a moratorium. And that hasn't been defined. There's a definite not that. They have a service description which gives you the map, which actually goes from the Colorado border, Oklahoma border, clear up through Peabody, south, east 277 on 50. But that's generalization for planning. That's not actually what the tall grass heartland is. And it is for general purposes only. Any final discussion or decision should be based on actual field investigation as well as a more thorough review and investigation of variables that can impact the proposed project. So that's what I'd like to do is let's put a finite boundaries for this, and then adhere to them like the governor proclaimed to do. And then I could get into the criminal aspect of all this, but I'll save that for a later date. Thank you.
thanks, Tom. Thanks for keeping it.
Yeah, really.
All right, any other public comments? Don't see any bubble lit up. So we'll go on to administrative business. I don't see Deidre on as far as the COVID update, but I believe everybody's been getting the dashboards. We're up on probable cases, but
One comment I would like to make, it's been brought up to me by some constituents, and I know it's not Deidre's job, but had several people say, we get all of this information on COVID. Why don't we ask for information from our mental health providers and from the sheriff on how much child abuse, spousal abuse, drug actions, those kind of things that lay on the other side of this COVID issue. And, you know, we don't have any of that kind of information. But I think it was worth listening to, and it's worth bringing up that, yeah, we've had some COVID issues, but there's been a lot of issues on the other side that people don't know about. And if you talk to the mental health people, if you talk to the sheriff, there's been issues. So, you know, I don't know if that's information that we could try to get from our mental health providers or from the sheriff about how much of an increase in those kind of things that we see. Even we know that suicides have gone up exponentially. So, you know, and I know that there's some of those kind of issues around, but, you know, that's on the flip side of the COVID, and I think we need to keep that in mind.
And you're referring to the lockdowns and things like that?
Right,
Which is
caused
bringing this on.
by lockdown,
Okay.
caused
Yeah.
by no school,
Right.
and
Staying home.
You can definitely tell there's a direct correlation. I mean, yeah.
but that's information we're not gonna get unless we individually go to these people and ask for it. And, you know, some of that's probably covered under privacy, I'm sure, on the mental health side.
But not the statistics would not be. You
Statistics
still
would
get
be,
the statistics on it.
I don't know why some of them are turned off.
No, you're right, Kent, and if our department heads, whether it's a sheriff, whether it's Rutherford Bridge, Deidre's, health, there's other departments, whatever may be going on in their departments needs to be let us know so that the public knows that what they do and what they are seeing, whether it's this kind of case that you're talking about, COVID, you know, this has been last 6 months or 9, whatever it's been, six or so.
You know, and it's probably also a good question of the county attorney. How many of those cases do we have had, and are they up from a normal rate, whatever a normal rate is?
Oh, yeah, just past years. I mean,
Yeah. Since the pandemic began.
good point.
Mr. Chairman, where would you like to put the transfer station deal at? Under administrative business when Tina's done, or would you like to put it down here when Josh is here?
Don't you think it'd be good with Josh?
Probably.
In the room in case some other
Okay.
things pop up.
Pop up, okay, that'd be good, all right.
Go on to Tina, take it away from here on the administrative business.
Okay.
Department of Aging was in the packet.
Yeah, in your packet, you had just some informational items. Department on Aging had their information in there. There is an invitation in here for commission to attend this briefing. This is an online meeting about this from the Kansas National Resource Coalition about proposed historic trail designation. And that could be pretty important to kind of know about. So if any of you are wanting to be in on that, please contact them to be invited to that webinar. That's on next Thursday.
I know that,
That just involves western side of the county?
Looks like it, yes.
Okay.
And it's, you know, it could be causing additional tax exemptions. You know, I don't know if there's any eminent domain involved in that. You know, there could be quite a few things involved in that if that designation does go through for plus and minus. So you might just want to be, I just want you to be aware of it and potentially be involved in learning about that and what that could mean. It hasn't passed at this point. It's just a potential. So,
I don't know if all of you know, but the Chisholm Trail is marked all the way through Marion County with markers. And, you know, this next year will be the 150th anniversary of the Santa Fe Trail, which, you know, could have some economic impact on the county, depending on what they're gonna be able to do next year. But they were planning on, you know, a lot of different events for that, so I guess we'll have to see how that plans out. But the Chisholm Trail and the Santa Fe Trail are such close proximity that, you know, as far as economic development, looking forward, it could be of some benefit to the county.
okay. We do have change orders and supplements. Change orders do need a signature.
Supposed to be living. I haven't seen, maybe they have another person. I've never seen that.
Get the first two back, so I can keep them together.
I like the level better.
It's different, isn't it?
Yes.
And it really is. I mean, that's what it was for, but it's
Trying to help out. So I have to serve out again.
next page, so you got a spot right there.
Okay, thank you.
The minutes of August 31.
Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any amendments or corrections? Not, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 28th.
31st.
August 31st, my bad.
That's okay. Somebody seconded that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We do have one early check. And then the payroll correction I talked about on payday. And that was to pay out a last insurance premium instead of withholding it. So there's the early check, and then here's the payroll correction.
So we have a early check of $147.99. Make a motion to go ahead and approve the early check of $147.99.
Second.
Got a second by Randy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that payroll correction, that's the net change, that's 64.28. Because we had credits on the insurance, on the benefit side, and then paying out the insurance premiums as wages, and then, so the net difference is an increase of total of 64.28.
Make a motion to approve the increase for $64.28 on the September 1st payroll. Second by Kent. All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
I'm gonna skip over in the packet, then the first resolution that's in there, and skip to the second one, because it's numbered. So when we did you may remember, some of the commissioners that have been here longer, we had a bond issue for the county radios through USDA. It was just a small bond of just over $200,000. Well, I got a call from USDA this last week, and there's some sort of a little rounding thing with the way the amortization schedule was prepared. And so the amortization schedule that USDA bookkeeping has on file does not match the one that the state treasurer has on file. And so when our payments have been sent, according to the state treasurer, they are showing that we had a delinquency of $5.50, because each time we paid it, then there was a little difference. And so they have requested that we adopt a new, that we update our amortization schedule for this bond, and also have to refile it with the state treasurer. And so they contacted our bond counsel, and so he just recommended that the easiest way to fix this is to adopt an amending resolution to amend the amortization schedule, which will then be filed with the state treasurer, and we will have to figure out how we're going to make that $5.50 payment, but then it should match what USDA has on file. And he is, just so you know, Mr. Small is not charging us anything for this. It was just kind of a correcting thing that USDA is requesting. So that's what Resolution 2020-24 is. So we would need to adopt that, and then I have to send original signatures with this, so we need to sign it, to do 2 signature pages, so we have original signatures here as well. And so that's just a correction that has to be made.
Okay. Hearing that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-24.
Second.
Second by Randy. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
A lot of work for $5.50.
Yes.
Wire transfer charge,
Well,
one now.
we were, I mean, when I saw this, I was like, can't we just pay the $5.50, but the state, they won't allow it, so we have to actually do this. Yeah.
Resolution heads 2024, and then I see it's paid off in 2024.
Yeah, it was a 7-year
Yeah.
little lease purchase there. Well, it was a bond payment, actually, yeah. And the reason we ended up doing that was so that we could receive grant funding also through USDA for all fire districts to be able to receive their grants.
Right.
So that's why we ended up having to do a bond for us, to kind of help them. It's kind of unusual for us to do a bond for that small amount, so.
Building credit.
Job security for somebody.
Yeah.
All right. And then I was in touch with Property Evaluation Division of the Department of the state of Kansas. They are the ones who govern over the appraisers. They did approve your appointment of Nikki as the interim appraiser, but they do want an official resolution to that. And so that is why you have the other resolution in your packet. And as an interim, they want it to be a 6-month or less appointment. And so that's what this resolution is. So that would be resolution 2020-25.
So I do have a question on it. At the top, it does simply say that it's a interim, but down at the bottom of the third paragraph, it says by the Director of Property Evaluation and is qualified to be appointed as the appraiser of Marion County. Should that also have the word interim injected in there?
It can, but she is qualified as an appraiser or an interim, and the resolution just says that she's being appointed as the interim. But if you prefer me to put that in there, I can, but she is qualified to be.
Well, I understand she's qualified, but I was just wondering if, since it's kind of conflicting, up at one place it says interim and down here it says appraiser, and I realize your qualifications.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, we're signing a document for an interim, and I just thought for clarification, 3 stick-on documents, that's all. I just bring that up, that would be my preference, but it's whatever.
Okay. If you give me a moment, I can change that unless anyone else doesn't want it changed.
She is an interim for right now, as far as we know.
Yeah, this
That's
just
what her
makes
title
it-
is.
I got that, I'm just saying we're signing a legal
Yeah,
document now, basically.
that's what I said, I don't have no problem with that.
Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the resolution?
Well, let me
as amended?
is it okay if I just go
Yeah.
correct it, and then you don't have to do it with an amendment, you can just do it
As
as the
is.
final document?
as appraiser, appointed as interim appraiser, paragraph 3. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-25.
I'll second.
Second, Diane. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Yes. I like that, but I forget it.
Okay. In your packet, you had information from Jay Hall about the president's payroll tax deferral. And so this has been a little bit of a topic of discussion, and I did speak with Brad about it. They are, as Jay explains, that they are leaving it up to the employers. And so basically what it does is it will allow the employees not to have their payroll taxes deducted for the last quarter of this year, but then they have to make it up the first quarter of next year. And so basically they would have to pay double, and we would have to actually track the exact amounts that they would have to pay back. And so when I discussed it with Brad, he did not feel like it would be a beneficial thing for the county to participate. And there are a lot of, I think the majority of the counties that were on the listserv their counties are not participating, but that is a decision of the commission whether or not to this county organization would participate in that payroll tax deferral.
I'd make a motion that we do not participate.
I'll second that. Any other discussion?
I don't even see how that even got to the floor. I mean, I just, you can, if you want to, you can write in and do a few things to your income tax taken out, you know. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but that's up to each individual. And this would still be up to each individual if they wanted to do it, but I
mean, if it's not truly a payroll tax holiday.
Yeah.
And you gotta pay it back later, I don't.
Yeah.
It's just setting up a burden
It's
for
a bad deal.
later on,
Yeah, I agree with that.
so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
It's a strong eye.
Yep.
They seem to need in the beginning of the war, wait a minute, it's gonna pay it back.
Yeah.
All
Because
right.
some people would misunderstand that.
Yeah, they do, I think, and we've had several calls from employees already saying I don't want to participate. So that's, I mean,
Good.
some of them are paying attention, so that's good.
Most of them kind of depend on a certain amount of refund anyway.
Well, and just to, you know, our employees, the majority of them were able to continue working, you know, through the entire time.
Right.
And so they didn't necessarily experience the kind of hardships that some people maybe did, but I don't know how that's gonna help even those folks,
Yeah, this is,
you know.
you gotta pay income tax on unemployment.
Okay, so in your packet, the next item that was in there is the state memo that's basically approving the plans that our committee submitted for Spark. And they are asking for a little bit more information. I know the committee is working on a grant application right now and a way for those other agencies to request funds. So those requests would go to the committee, they would go to the accounting firm to verify that they fit, and then they would come for final approval of the payments to the commission. But that also brought up the, on your list of things to discuss today, what you want the protocol for county departments to be for requesting projects be funded by this, because the commission still has the say on the projects, and so I just put that discussion on there as far as how you want to see that. I think it would make sense for any county departments to come to the board first, get the board approval, and then go to the accounting firm for approval and then payment. And we did set a limit of $150 for the minimum amount to be reimbursed through with Spark funds. That was at Scott Lloyd's strong recommendation. So
Per invoice.
right, $150 per invoice, right? So we shouldn't be turning in our $10 invoices for Lysol, you know, or it's just too much administrative.
I think they're allowed to group them up to.
Single invoice per vendor, it has to be 150 or up.
One vendor
Otherwise,
per order.
right, so if they're ordering multiple things from that vendor that qualify, that's okay, but incidental items shouldn't be being charged against the Spark money. They should be just out of the budget, was the feeling of the accounting firm, so.
Because each invoice has to be entered by the
Right.
accounting firm
Yeah.
and by us.
Right, just the
Just a lot
administrative
of paperwork.
part of it is burdensome, so.
Is there a lot of that though? Is there a lot that's under?
Well, this last time, you know, we're the county, you know, we try to look at every little penny, and so,
Right.
yeah, we submitted a ton of invoices that were really small last time, so, for the direct reimbursement.
That's good policy for a lot of things, where you have to see $2 checks and $1 check.
Yep.
That's sort of just a waste of a lot of time.
Maybe.
But anyway, if we had some sort of a methodology for how the board wants to see those projects. And of course, we have submitted our plan, which is basically the overall outline of what we're looking at, but there are different things that are gonna come up. For instance, you saw the judicial system asking to put sneeze guards in, or saying they're going to do that. That could potentially, if with board approval, that should be submitted for Spark funding, because it's over $9,000, I think, and it directly applies, so that could be submitted. There's other projects, you know, so.
Need a motion to, the county departments need to come before the board for projects before they submit to Spark.
It involves more than just, I mean, you've got schools, you've got.
Yeah, well, and I think that as long as those projects fit in the scope of the plan that was already submitted, unless the board wants to look at every single one of those before it goes to the accounting firm, I'm talking more, you're over the county, so the county departments will need to get approval of any request over $1,000, because that's our limit, but you will see those requests coming from the schools, and if you want to see them ahead, or if you just want to sign up on the final, I mean, the schools are the biggest portion of this, you're correct, so.
I mean, I don't know, as long as we're made aware, so that when people ask where the money's going or this or that, I'm okay with just seeing the final sign off, as long as it's approved past the accounting, because they're gonna double check it. The state's been double checking, and we just need to know so we can tell the constituents on where the money is going.
We just need to take care of ourselves as a county, because we're responsible for county spending.
So I would make a motion that we review final sign off on all Spark funding.
What about county projects?
we got to do the county before this goes to Spark.
Yeah.
And then a motion that we approve before it's presented to the Sparks Committee. Anything over $1,000. Has to be approved.
But you made a motion.
I'm gonna retract my motion and let Dave make his motion.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's it. County commissioners need to approve anything over $1,000 to be presented to, before it is presented to the Sparks Committee for approval for reimbursement
County.
for the county.
For the county.
County.
Yeah.
For the county only.
Right.
And then review, did you want to include then the review and final sign off on all others after they've gone through?
Shouldn't that be separate?
It can be, yeah.
Because I'd say it'd be separate. We need, we're worried about the county.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Make another motion that the county commissioners review all requests for the final supplementation to the state Sparks.
Oh, that would be the states. Yeah, it would be. It'd be going to the state for verification.
Yeah, well, after
So-
the committee submits to us.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay.
I guess we don't.
Is there any concern coming out of the Sparks Committee about getting this all completed by end of the year?
I don't think so far, I mean, but it is gonna have to, I mean, we're gonna need to get any county departments that are requesting a project, they need to be in here like
Yeah.
right away to get their
It'll
approval
sneak
so
up
that we
pretty
can.
fast.
Yeah, it
Like
will move
next
fast.
week.
Yeah, so.
Money has to be spent too, so it's.
Yeah. So far, everybody's aware, and we're discussing timing as far as when those invoices need to come to the county, they're also talking about, or recommending, and Janine was kind of thinking the same thing about, on the Spark invoices, maybe doing a separate pay date, apart from a regular pay date just for those, so.
Good idea.
Yeah, just to make it a little easier to track and.
And they still have an exemption for supply chain breakdown, right? So you can still have spent that money, but not quite received it, it's just, there's a supply chain issue. So it could turn
Yeah,
off
I
for the next
believe
year.
it can be it can be based on a purchase order, and considered spent. Those kind of details are still coming to us actually, but I think so. And just a heads up that I think that we will probably have the first round of checks, which would be paying the organizations for their reimbursements that they submitted prior to the plan. Those should be coming probably, and be ready for an approval on next Monday. So, I mean, but then the approval process needs to start when you're going into the direct aid portion of the spending, because those haven't been done yet, and those will need your approval before going on it, so. All right, any questions about any of that? Okay. Just to mention, Bryce is not here today, I believe he's on vacation. We do have a written kind of update in your packet, and then I do have a utility permit for approval that he brought up last week.
In your packet there, the letter from the current late, where you see that, everything. Last week's paper come out with stating that the county had contacted City of Peabody. And at that time, all I knew was Peabody, and I didn't know nothing about it. I know we hadn't sat here and talked about anything. So that's why I went looking for the paper, but in here, he says he's contacted, Bryce says he's contacted Peabody, Durham, probably where he's gonna be chip sealing next year, Hillsborough, Gossel, Peabody, Durham. This is a good thing, but it needs to come from here first. I mean, it needs to let us know so that we don't get blindsided. And I do know that the city guy was contacted, the city guy contacted me and said, well, that'd be neat. How much you gonna do? Well, we don't know how much we're gonna do. We don't have a clue. And so I would like to be with the program here, and everybody here sitting here at this table be on the program so we all know what's going on, so anybody, we can answer questions. Especially if it's gonna be, like the areas he's picked, is that's gonna be where the chip seal is done. Well, I understand that. But I want us to be on the same page with Bryce, and I think maybe he'll realize after this that it needs to come here first.
Good luck with that, I hope so.
Well, I just so we can all be on board with it.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, he's gotta be able to make sure that he's got adequate material.
Material.
Because you
stuff.
never know about, especially the oil. I mean, it sounds like the chip thing's already taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, that oil situation changes from year to year.
But I believe in the paper, they had, and I wasn't attending that meeting, I attended the other meeting before that, a couple of them. But I believe in the paper, they had, well, we'd like this street, we'd like this street, we'd like that street. Well, I mean, that's good thinking.
Could end up being the whole town.
Well, yeah, I mean, and so, you know, if we're gonna do 10 blocks per town or something, fine. If we're gonna do 5 blocks or whatever we're gonna do, I don't mind that, but it's just, we gotta get on board the same page here, so.
Well, and I will say that Bryce was a little surprised about what was written in the paper because he didn't think that that's the conversation he had with them.
Yeah.
So I think there was a little miscommunication too about exactly what he said he would do.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and that's very well could have happened, but when you contact somebody, well, that sounds great, they may not want it to hear, oh, somebody's gonna help us. I mean, all of our cities are anxious for that. And so, well, let's just put the load on a little more here. And so, anyway, I just.
Yeah, I took it as if he had surplus material, he would.
Well, and I did talk to the mayor. And I let him know that if the county does do something like that, it's not all for free and that it would have to be approved and it would be, usually what we do is if we help a city like that, we provide the labor and then they pay for the materials. And so I at least cleared that up with him, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it, it's a good deal.
Yeah, and I like this kind of projects better than the connecting links myself. I'd rather, we've got the people to do it, we've got the things to do it, and just so we can plan it out.
And we're there.
And normally when we're chip sealing in those kind of areas, we do the connecting links.
Yes, yeah, and that's what our goal is, to try keeping those up, so, yeah. So anyway, it's just something that I think, I haven't had a chance to talk to Bryce. I was just, the paper when I read it this Friday or so, I think, I saw that, what was going on there.
Yeah,
So.
in his final statement there, it says, contacted, like you said, Hillsborough, Peabody, Gossel, Durham, about possibly.
Yeah.
You know, and then the last sentence in that.
Yeah.
No definite plan has been set, and we will work with them when we get there.
Yeah. But I like the planning ahead, whether they need
Yes.
to know it, we need to know it, everybody needs to know it, so we can put a plan together, and that's just, no problem with that, just so we all know. Thank you.
The one that I picked out there is he's.
Also like to direct Bryce to supply us with another one of his Excel spreadsheets about the issues that we still have and those that have been taken care of. I know we got one, I don't know if it was last month or the month before.
while.
I'd like to have that on a monthly basis.
And I would question how that tickler is being formulated, because I know the last one that we received, there were roads that I called in that were not fixed, that were not on the list. And so I'm not quite sure how that tickler is being created. So I'll be anxious to see what's on there now this week, because they still haven't been fixed.
Let me ask you, Diane, is the roads that you're calling in, is this people that's already made contact with the county?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, if they've made contact, I I have no problem with us commissioners double checking then. But for us to call in just to get a road fixed, there's gotta be a reason for me to call in. And if the person's called in, made their due contact and made their proper arrangements, and then they haven't seen nothing for 6 weeks, 6 months, then it's good. I just question why you said you called in, so.
Well, and there were roads back a while that I've had people that have called multiple times and didn't get any results, so of course they called me.
Yeah.
And
Yep,
so then
yep.
I called them in.
Yep.
And so, and again, still, and I had driven the roads at different times, and
Yep.
I felt as though they definitely needed attention, or I wouldn't have called them in.
Right.
And like I said, they still have not. Now, the weather has went through different stages since then, and they're bearable, but they still need attention.
They're dry. The roads are dry.
And now the dust is putting all our rock in the fields.
And just for commission's attention, the railroad put in a new bridge west of Durham on 290th, and in the meantime caused quite a bit of damage. And I've been in contact several times with Bryce about getting those monies collected, because there has to be some work done on that road prior to this winter. Because there's one area that's really a concern. And so,
Which
I
road
need
is
to
that?
find out from him when and if that money's coming, or how it's gonna be determined, what the damages are. I would take for granted that we're gonna have to do the fixing, but they need to supply some funds to us.
290 is the first mile outside of.
It's the first mile out west of Durham. They
West
had
of Durham, okay.
buku big time equipment in there for months. In fact, they didn't do anything for 2 months at least. And they finished that project now 3 or 4 weeks ago.
What kind of damage did they do?
Well, just the weight of their, caused the road to break up. You know, that's just an oiled
So you're
road.
talking about on the road? Okay.
Yeah. And there are some areas that are really bad. In fact, there's one area that people are driving on the other side of the road, and that concerns me. When you start driving on the other side of the road to stay away from the damage, that's an accident waiting to happen. Or someone calling in and saying that the blacktop chunk's this big. I did have the maintainer go out there one day and just push them off into the ditch, because it was chunks this big. And if you hit one of those and it goes up, it's gonna wipe something out. So,
There's a few areas that look like that. I got a call on Kansas. I reported.
yeah, there's some other areas too, but I mean, this is an area that needs to be paid for by someone other than
Yeah.
the county.
Good luck, Ken.
Ken, did you,
Good luck
you
around
said
here.
something about who it was, I didn't hear that part to write it.
UP Railroad probably.
Railroad.
Union Pacific
Okay.
Railroad.
Yeah.
All right.
I do appreciate Bryce's type up, you know.
Yes, yes.
I wouldn't mind seeing this when he comes and sits down too, just, you know.
It's nice to have that.
Mhm. It's right there, I mean,
Yep.
what's going on? Yeah.
So. Okay,
One thing on there too, contract trucking, where are we at? I mean, we're over budget already and stuff, so we're getting close. What are we?
I don't think we're using any right now.
Thought we were done.
Okay, well, that's, and I think that's what he's telling us there, isn't it, that he's pulling them all together?
Yeah, they're just slow getting there.
tickets.
Tickets,
Contract. Okay. Any other discussion on that? If not, I'll move on to the permit. Permit number 2020-15, it's for Consolidated Communications. It is to bore and replace 352 feet of copper cable along the south right-of-way of Blue Stem. So it is 3.046 miles north of Highway 50, Blue Stem Road. I'm gonna go ahead make a motion to approve permit number 2020-15. It's damage in a low water.
Second.
Second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, go ahead. Blue Stem Telephone doing on Blue Stem Road, right?
It
And
looks
Blue
like
Stem
it's-
Telephone is where are they from? I have not run across.
Americas.
Americas?
Yeah, Americas.
Okay, okay,
Consolidated Communications is listed here.
okay. All right, yeah, fine, but I just haven't, that's the first time I've seen them come across.
All right. Aye. Aye. Randy and I are the final ones, so
Okay.
5-0.
And I don't know if you'll be discussing it in your packet. You did have the information for the tonnage report and the recycling for the transfer station. So that was the final item in there.
Josh is out
Yep.
here.
Oh, God.
Morning.
Morning.
We done.
Yep.
They're just- You've been sitting out there, you can come sit in here.
That's all right. If you pass it, please. Just chemical bids for Milestone. I ran out and wasn't gonna order any from next year, but we got a lot of farmers asking for it, so it was.
Well.
Cut the other price.
What do you say?
It's, I think the company sets the price and that's what everybody's gotta follow.
So,
What do we do on something like that? Split the order?
I can split the order because they're the 12 quarts in a case, so I can do 2 and 2. It's all gonna add up the same.
however you,
What's our freight on it?
Nope.
the,
You buy from both of them anyway, don't you?
Yes, I do.
is there any preferable service that you get from one from the other?
Not that they're both good guys I deal with, so.
I guess I would say split the order.
Okay.
Can you read for the,
Oh.
for the
So,
people on the electronic?
the
can you read?
Milestone
Thanks.
is Nutrient, come in with 48 quarts at $66.25, equaling $3,180. Van Dyst, also 48 quarts at $66.25, equaling $3,180. So, yeah. The, other things,
Did you take an action,
We
any
need to
action?
make a motion.
oh, I was giving a directive, I guess, but
Okay.
if we need to make a motion, I can make a motion, that doesn't matter.
Okay, but what is your directive exactly?
To go ahead and split the order.
Okay.
Do we need a motion? I mean, if somebody wants to make one.
I think it's fine, as long as
Okay.
everyone's in
Yeah.
agreement and Josh knows what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Then, what else? We need to go over anything else? I mean, there's a few items I know Randy and I need to bring up. I know there's another item that needs to be brought up about the scale. But is there anything other than, okay, then we'll go ahead and start. Okay.
Well, I know about one that started last Thursday, or Wednesday, I guess. Wednesday, I dropped by to see how progress was going. And contractor for the dirt to be brought in around the building on this east side of the building was, he said, well, I want you to know that we're gonna bring in fill dirt, which is good black dirt, and it's gonna be pretty soft out there and stuff. I said, for what? We're gonna plant grass on the east side of the building. And I said, wow. I don't wanna create jobs, and I think that's what we'd be doing, to take care of the grass out there. Sure, they had it on the old building and stuff, but, I mean, and then this is gonna be the only flat ground that we've got around the building, and, because the other ground's gonna be out there, and I don't, when the hill gets done on the west side, I don't know where the trailers are gonna tie in and stuff like that. So I said, well, I personally, I mean, from the way it looks right now, I would like to see rock out here so that we can use this area and drainage and stuff and get off that. So he said, well, I'm gonna be doing that. So if he brought in the black dirt, then we decided to rock it later. We're creating ourselves a mush, mush pit and stuff like that by bringing this black dirt in. So I said, well, I'm gonna contact my other worker that was signed to this job and see how he feels on this job. So I contacted Jonah on Thursday or Friday. Thursday.
It was the day you were there, so.
Yeah, and so I contacted him and said, man, we've overlooked this. I think I mean, in my perspective, same as we did over at the jail, we want less maintenance. We've got the weed department right there that can spray the rock, keep the rocks down, keep the grass and mold, keep it all down. And I think this area might become a usable area in the future for either the trucks to be sitting there or something to, I don't know for a fact. I mean, Josh wasn't around, didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, but I just foresee that this area is a usable area. The only problem we'd have out there is there's a couple of white pipes sticking up that one's, and they're gonna have to be taken care of so that they don't bust it off, or we're gonna put some temporary boulders around them so that they're not broken off. But later on, I think maybe we can put them underground. I think they're drainage cleanouts up there.
Clean out and then wastewater, or I mean, sand oil separators right there somewhere.
Yeah, that's closer to the building, but that's.
Put a manhole cover over it, kind of.
Well, we
Yeah.
just don't want to be running over them at all.
Yeah, well, we don't want, yeah. So we've got that problem, then the only other problem we're gonna create is bringing up and protecting that kind of equipment that you just mentioned, Josh. And make sure there's barricades and stuff like that around it so that after the rock's all there, and then later on, my foreseeable future for this is to put some hard rock down so we keep the dust down after we get a base and stuff like that. But for right now, it's just a limestone base. And so that's when I contacted Jonah and give him and his input. I'll let him talk about the input after I talk to him. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally in agreement. It sounded like it would be a no-cost change order.
Yes.
It sounded like we would, instead of just getting dirt and grass and seed, dirt and seed, we would get rock. And I'm all for
And spread out, no cost.
Yeah, and I was all for spraying rocks, not allowing grass to grow up and allowing trash to get stuck in it, finding it in the fall. There's just, and to have somebody mow it all the time, you know, it's just another little beast there. So I was totally in favor of keeping it all rock.
You are correct. Cody showed up, and it will be a no cost change order. No extra cost. Justin Hatt was there, the contractor, to do that, and he agreed to do that. But we just got to get a change order sent in and get that done. And if there's anything else, Josh, that you see coming up that you're not happy with, just like you said about the ramp over there being at the angle, you was worried about that, bring it up, because we need to talk about it so we can see if there's anything that you see. I mean, we're just there. I was just there for half a day to sort of watch, and so that's what's happened. But I'd like to get a motion by the commission to go ahead and make that change order to change it, then a no cost change order, or I would make that motion even. So
Yeah, that way that the contractor can be rest assured that we're not gonna go back on what Randy and I went ahead
agreed to. Yeah.
It looks pretty nice down there today.
Yeah, they started rocking it.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Yeah. So, I would, go ahead and make the motion to move, tell the contractor to move forward with, our intention of approving a no-cost change order for the substitution of rock instead of, grassy areas.
Second.
Second by Randy. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Commission 5-0. Like I said, Josh, just get a hold of us if you've got anything down there that's not looking out like you think it should, why? Because on paper, it may look like one way, and if you're seeing it in real life, it's not. So,
Yeah.
and today, you go ahead and give us a rundown, you're already pushing into the new pit?
We got their truck over there. We are using the new half, and I'm still trying to work with the construction crew so I can finish getting everything cleaned out. I'm working with them as best as with what we can. They're doing real good, so.
Scales?
We got the scale house moved. I got a box inside that will run the scale. I just need to get my bell over so it allows us to know somebody's on the scale. And I've got a few things ordered to set out a horn because the light's not effective anymore. People get on their phones, so this way they can hear it. And but we're working on that right now. I'm just waiting on that stuff to come in.
Any other?
It's interesting you bring that up. What about horn? I mean, these people are going to they're going to hear this. It's an alarm sound. I mean, it's the same as a backup alarm on a tractor, I suppose. But I'm saying, are we violating any codes that may be in place? You know what I'm asking?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You're looking for a horn, basically. Normally you find them on the elevators, grain elevators. So when you're telling a trucker to back up or move forward, as you're loading them.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you hear them, I guess, but you never think much about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a temporary now, so.
Well, I think it's going to be a permanent.
I like to keep it permanent.
Yeah, and I understand it. I have no problem with it. I just don't want to violate any city codes that may be in place.
And some of those, you take a little instrumentation screwdriver and you can change if you start getting complaints, you can start changing the decibels, you can start changing the tone.
Okay.
It depends on what horn you buy, but
For now, I went with just a car horn where I can set it low. It's not shouldn't be too loud but it should just be loud enough for the person inside the vehicle to hear it.
Good.
not a train horn.
Not a train horn.
You hear that enough?
Yeah, that's down there anyway. Yeah. And
Then nobody would know. So.
Yeah. Yeah, true. There were a lot of trains lately, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
No, thank you, Josh, for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you've got all the phone calls made, issues worked out as far as your scale?
Yeah, I got that worked out. I'm just waiting on we had to go with the first plan that I had for, I had to order some wire so I can make it longer and go around like they want to keep it out of their area. But they gave me some time. I said, well, just give me about a week or two and I'll have her done for you, so.
Okay. That was the other issue that I was talking about. He was having there was a little conflict between demolition and where the wire could run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And he was pondering it, and he already had the answer before we ever talked, but he just needed somebody else to tell him to make the phone call.
And if you need it quicker, I don't mind. You said you ordered it, but I don't know if anybody has it in stock. Local.
See, it's a special type of wire.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
That's it, I guess.
that's all I got.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks,
All right, thank you.
Good luck on your new home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Talking to tonight's the end.
Yeah.
I had Sherry put the public comments and commission comments before you did your last executive session stuff, so.
Yeah,
Good deal.
I could appreciate that, having to jump on and off the meeting.
Yeah.
It just seems to work better when you try to put the executives at the end of the meeting. So, public comments, I have yet to see any comment pop up throughout the meeting. All right. So, I guess we'll commission comments. We've made a few already, so. Does anybody have any more?
Well, I'd just like to say thanks to Dave too. Dave's driving by and seeing the thing quite a bit, and he's right here in town, so anything that you see, Dave, just give us a call so we can look at it. I mean,
The only thing I've seen is there's 4 bolts sticking out of the wall. Nobody knows what they're for yet. They're either gonna be knocked off or taken out, I'd say.
and that goes to either the rest of the commission too.
There's
I mean, if
2
you see something you don't
legal
like,
end.
fine. But I know Diane says she drives in and moves her trash there, so.
I go about every Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we want this project to be a good one. We don't want to have
So it looked real nice down there Saturday morning.
If it looks a little weird, let us know.
Yeah, yeah.
4 bolts.
They're about waist high, they're just gonna tear your pants or hit a bucket.
Okay.
It's on 2 different spots on the wall. You'll
Okay.
see them if you go up there.
Yeah,
I mean,
on the visual wall?
mhm.
Okay.
Just off it, everything's slick and then
Yeah.
they just,
Yeah.
Josh didn't know what they're there for either. He's aware of it.
All right.
We talked about it.
It's on the pad though. It's on the upper pad.
Yeah, it's about waist high.
Okay. Right.
Is there anything that, we're winding down here towards election times and things, but it's gonna get busy again before too long. But is there anything on the agenda that maybe Tina or somebody we need to have a special meeting for? Maybe commission wants to put something on? Pay scale or anything like that? I'm just asking to look forward here to wind down this year and see if there's anything that we need to accomplish. We have to have a special meeting for anything.
I'd like to revisit the blank pay plan.
Okay.
As you know, I've advocated for it for
Yes.
2 years without much luck.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some issues come up where we need some guidance there, so.
I'm just bringing it up for the chairman to make his decision while bringing this up.
No,
Got time to think about it.
I'm putting it off on me. No, I'm agreeing. I mean, we need to get the lower paid people taken care of.
It probably wouldn't hurt to have a special meeting in regards to pay plan.
Just know that, last year, when I was sitting out there, the pay plan came up. Now this year, it's come up once. It seems like somebody goes through a lot of work and then nothing takes any action. And I hate to do that to somebody
Seems
if
like
we're not going to
Well,
do something.
especially when, you start dealing with department heads, and changing of jobs and that kind of thing, because you do something for a department that maybe tries to mesh a little bit with, not saying the pay plan, pay plan.
Yeah.
You know that the other departments are going, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And the employee themselves, I think, the way I've had some approach me, especially on the lower side of it, that they, we automatically give them something, so, but I think I want the employees to know that I wanna go through this and make the right adjustments when we do it, so.
Well, you know, in the budget, we did have that 1.5%. That we, needs to be addressed somehow.
Yeah.
I don't think we agreed that it would just be across the board or anything, did we? I think
No,
we just agreed for the increase, so that needs to be directed on how it's spent, so.
Yeah.
And so I'll also add, if you're gonna go into the pay plan, you need to allow plenty of time, because that pay plan does have job titles changed. It also has job descriptions that need to be considered, and so, because there needs to be updates on that, which is what's all included in that plan, so it's not just, the number of people, although I'm all for that, but I'm just saying that's, we're gonna have time to get it to get it correct. We don't have, too many maintenance people anymore with all technicians. Stuff like that changes,
Yeah.
so.
And if we was to do that, Tina, I know my record keeping's not the best. We could get all the information to get run to us, okay?
Yeah. Change subject on that. I mean, I'm for having discussions. I figure that's the only way you get anywhere is by having talks. And, I still want to reiterate and I don't know that we need to have a monthly meeting on economic development. I think we should just bring it up as it comes, just like you did with the broadband the other day. I mean, I don't know that we need to wait for that and then miss the moment. If something's there, just like you had on the grant the other day, Ken, you know, you spotted that and brought it up. I think that stuff just needs to happen every meeting. And it doesn't need to be that we all need to bring something. It's just if something happens, it needs to be brought up.
And, you know, we get information on all those grants, you know, and some of them, yeah, there's no way, or we don't need it, or it's not, won't mesh with what we're doing, but, you know, some of them, they have some purpose, you know, and I know that a lot of these have that end of the year, but my consensus was, in talking to one of the department heads, I said, let's get it. If we don't use it, the worst thing that happened is we send it back. But if we don't have it, we can't do anything.
Right.
So on the broadband, would there be any validity to have people from Tri-County or Eagle, some companies like that, come talk to us about what they're doing, how we can work together?
Right. Randy did bring that up once, and I was gonna try. I've reached out to Scott and just haven't really linked up. They've been pretty busy.
Who's Scott?
Bates. He's a engineer for TCT.
Okay, yeah.
I was looking for that.
Yeah.
And
Somebody who knows more than we know about it.
And for him to give me some feedback, you know, in case, you know, maybe we didn't qualify for the grant, but maybe they do.
Right.
Whatever we could do to assist them to get that
All
done.
right.
And that was where my conversation was going.
The biggest thing is getting it out, that it's there, whether we apply or whether
Yeah.
you apply.
We just need to partner with.
But, you know,
other
like
people.
that one's come and gone already.
Yeah.
And there's so limited amount of time on these grants.
Yeah. You know, and then
And broadband's gonna be
Tina and
a
I found one
hot
way back
subject next year.
on the USDA, and it sounded like since, and I did get a hold of Tri-County on that one, but it was basically if you could prove that you had a high enough speed, whether it was wireless or whatever, then you couldn't infringe on their territory with this money. And so that grant was not this one, not the one that you were bringing, but that grant was just for places that basically had no internet.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, the confines of some of these grants are hard.
That's one day a week at Marion.
But
Sorry.
if the provider can
Truth
prove
hurts.
that they can get their speeds that high, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. That's,
You know what you mentioned there, John, is if you remember when cell towers come out, we in Peabody, AT&T come to within 2 miles of Peabody's this area that they covered, and so Verizon come in and covered everything that AT&T didn't, but they would not shoot an antenna towards AT&T because that was their coverage area. Even though AT&T didn't have no coverage out there, I mean, they didn't have nothing that we could hook up to or use for the cell phones. So they didn't even, when I found out, when I got down to the bottom of it as mayor down there, found out they didn't point the antenna towards that area. If they'd pointed an antenna, we'd have had coverage 3 miles outside of Peabody on the south side. But that was AT&T's area. And what you just said, if they've already got high speed in these towns, then some of these grants won't even come and look. But I'm wondering if there's grants that, no matter whether it is already high speed, it'd give you a choice that would bring it to their
Well,
houses.
that was what struck my attention when Ken brought that one up, because it was more about infrastructure. It was more, if there wasn't, trying to explain how, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly, but it made it sound like more like a direct to carry, direct to house, not wireless, not.
Right.
It had to be something infrastructural, permanent. And so that one kind of stuck out pretty well, and I got pretty excited, but I never got in contact with anybody, I guess.
I guess it would be nice though, a lot of our department heads see these grants, you know, and it'd be good if they at least looked at them, and if they felt like it was something that might be of value to the county and we haven't seen it, please bring it to us.
Yeah.
Call us or come to the meeting or email us or something. Because, you know, we just don't catch them all, you know. I mean, I try to read about all of these that have come up under the sparks.
Yeah.
You know.
And some of them have, you know, I've noticed some of them have nothing to do with county. They, like, it wouldn't do us any good, but it would if we would just recognize that there's a business somewhere in our county that could use this.
Right.
So.
And, you know, that's why I'd like for our department heads to help us with that. Because they may have a little bit better knowledge about, okay, this is needed over here somewhere. I know that they need, so sometimes we just don't know about it.
Do you have direct connectivity to your house?
Yes.
In the ground, right up to your house?
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, well.
I envy
we
you
don't-
so much.
No. Well, yeah, and that's, I'd love to see that all over the county, but at that time, I think it was called Obama money and got that, but, anyway, Tri-County did a super job. They went out to a lot of the small towns and put it in, and then into the farmers too.
That was part of the arrangement. They had to go hit.
So much, yes, area.
A rural area, and then kind of an urban pocket,
Sure.
and they had to get so many rural
Yeah.
tied in with that, so. Yeah, I
I
guess.
have nothing else.
I have one thing I'd like to say, and that is, I'm gonna expand just a little bit on what Tom said, and it's, you know, I am concerned about shutting the people out of the meeting. I understand we got this, the telephone, but if you caught what he said, he goes to a neighbor to even go back and look at what we discussed. You know, and there's a lot of people out there like that, and I know, used to be, and, you know, Randy can't know that. We used to have this room, a lot of people would come and go depending on the subject matter, and it's kind of like community involvement, where people actually come. It's a whole lot better than just this. A lot of people don't like this, and if you'll notice, most of those people that are on there, the majority of them are employees, they're not the public. It just feels to me like we're shutting the public out, and the public, from what I talk to some people, feel as though this is a tremendous inconvenience. I know we can have some seats, I know we can, and I know some people don't, and I had asked, well, why don't you come to the meeting? They said, well, if I drive there, there's, you know, no seat for me or anything, I have to drive all the way back, whatever, but I just really am concerned that we are shutting the people out, and I know people will, and I know Randy's concerned about, you get some people who are angry and get irate, but you know, when you get into politics, you gotta take the good, the bad with the ugly. Randy had eggs thrown in his face many times, and the Lord knows I did, but you take it, you don't shut it out. And I just feel as though we need to even consider how we can get the people back. And I know there's a mask mandate and all that other type of stuff, you know, but to be more inviting. The very first time I ever came to this commission room before I ran for commissioner, there was 4 chairs sitting there. And And when I walked in here, of course, I came from Junction City and Abilene, where you go and they invite the public and you got lots of chairs. It was so cold. It was like, ooh. It really sends a message that you're not really welcome. And there was a period of time where we had 2 rows of chairs. And sometimes you only had a couple people show. But for the most part, we had a nice crowd. And sometimes people just to listen. Not everybody yelled or said anything or had a comment. They just wanted to be involved as to what we were discussing. And so I really would like to see that come back. I think that's all part of it as well.
I guess I wasn't gonna bring any of that up, I mean, until we wind up having every chair filled, and then we have people sitting out there. I think, honestly, you know, some people are saying they don't like this or don't like that, and I've told them, you know, come to the meeting, and they don't, you know, they don't show up. And honestly, they're concerned. They don't wanna, people are weighing their risks right now on the whole COVID thing. They are, yeah, especially some of the elderly or health, you know, they're making the choice to not be here. They are, because they're welcome.
And we don't have a gathering limitation at all. There is a mask mandate, so
There's
if you
nothing.
can't be further apart than 6 feet by law in Marion right now, you're supposed to wear a mask. But other than that,
And even on the bottom of the agenda, it does say that they encouraged computer, telephone, and remote is the way that they encourage it. So it's, and highlighted also. I'm just saying, this is what I'm hearing, this is what I'm seeing. I would like to see, okay, so that's the case, and let's get rid of these little 5 chairs and get 2 rows up there and start having people see that there's, on the video that there are, and invite people to come. Wear a mask, if they have to, whatever. But I just think we need to start including the people a little bit more. That's just my comment, just my thought. I just hate to see that happen to where people feel that they are being shut out. I don't want to see that. And I didn't like it from the beginning, and that's why we changed it. That's why I went to the camera system and to try to do different things to get people involved. I mean, we tried different things. Some worked, some like this, some didn't like that, but you know, just this to me is just not acceptable. I'm sorry. That's my comment.
Yeah, well, right now, you know, the world has changed. And I think in the future, we're gonna be doing a lot more remotely because of people's time and energy. You know, they can get on remotely and do what they wanna do. They don't have to spend 30 minutes driving to and from home. And more businesses are not coming back to the office. It's gonna be, we're all gonna be more remote. And probably be remote on your phones more than you realize next year.
And doing that transition, I still say we need to make both sides available.
What is available?
Well, you didn't listen to what I said. I
Yeah.
said I'd like to see other chairs there too.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
start encouraging people to attend. So I'm gonna start encouraging people
We'd
to
have 4 people
attend,
come right now.
right?
Yeah, I've done the same.
Okay.
I've
Because I have not. I've been, you know,
I've been
well,
encouraging them, as soon as these chairs were set out here, I've been encouraging them too, but.
okay, well, I'm gonna start saying, no,
Yes, we
come
got
on in,
five,
you can
don't-
come in now again. Okay.
I've had some people that just adore this, just because they can, like what he said, it's on their phone, it's sitting in their cup holder, they're
They
driving somewhere.
Keep working at
Yeah.
home too.
But right now you do have the separation from those who love this and the ones that don't.
Right.
And so by going mostly to this eliminates that, and all I'm just saying is we need to be accommodating to all factors
Yeah,
of people.
and,
Just like you have to have the wheelchair accessible.
right, and
You know?
and this here will actually cut down on some of that, because they haven't other.
I haven't really noticed a lot of that besides the employees, but that's, I'm just, because I try to look and see how many people are out there, but I hope everybody joins in
And then
how.
there's 50-some views every time the camera goes out on that, so I mean, there's people that are finding a way. Yeah.
Tina, on Josh's report for the recyclables. Yeah, monthly recycling report. I see the numbers of tons, but I don't see the dollars. How is that being handled? Are you receiving checks from cities that's paying for recycling?
I'm not sure on that,
Okay.
how they're handling the billing and the reimbursements, and I don't see those all the time, but I can check.
Would that be through your office or through
Yeah,
Josh?
well, it would be, Rhonda would have that on their
Okay.
daily receipts,
Okay.
how those are coming in. That goes to the treasurer's office, but, I mean, we key that in too, I just haven't
They
looked to
pay
see.
monthly, wouldn't they?
I would suppose.
Yeah.
Imagine, but we've got to send them a bill before,
Yeah.
I didn't know whether that's being done or whether it's not being done, so.
Details.
And when did we put that in effect? Was it beginning of August or was it beginning July?
July, I think.
That $82, it was,
Mhm.
so I mean, this one's just got June, July on here, that's the only reason why I ask. Because if it was August, then it wouldn't have a chance to get in there.
Yeah.
So,
20, well, that's a combination, the Hillsborough 20 tons at $80 is 1,600, so, you know, I mean, it's just.
So, yeah, I think it needs to be on the report, I just don't know if it,
Yeah, time wise, hadn't been quick enough probably.
anything else? Okay, I'm gonna move it on to the portion of the meeting with the review employment applications. This time, we're gonna have to go to executive.
How many applications do we have?
They're on
5,
here.
I believe.
Yeah.
I-
All of them?
5,
5?
5, 6.
Well, that's a different meeting, yeah.
We'll also need a separate executive, right, to determine, well, no, need executive to determine pay.
If you need to talk about specific performance or those kind of things, you can do an executive for that, and then, of course, any action would have to be an open session.
Right, it would tie into that.
I'm gonna do that first
The
before
pay
we do the application.
The pay is going to depend on what you see or feel performance, so. All right, so. So we want to do that one first?
Yeah.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
we'll take us home.
Okay. I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss personal performance, item number 1, for personal matters of non-elected personnel, for 10 minutes.
That for salary consideration.
We need to have longer.
Second.
With the board.
Okay,
With
and
Tina.
seconded? Oh,
Pursuant to KSA 75-4319B.
did you say me?
You're gonna have some information that we're not going to have, so I think you need to be in there.
Okay.
So we can, no.
Mom's gonna take care of this.
Second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Okay.
So 10 minutes, that will put us, what time to open the meeting back up virtually?
10:45?
Okay.
Let me get things turned off here.
And it turned off yet.
My nose is numb.
I had to give mine up.
I think I've got carbon monoxide poisoning.
All right, camera's on.
We gotta make a decision, then we'll have another one. I said we'll have to make a decision, then we'll have another exec, so. We'll have to make a decision as far as what we wanna do here. But then we'll have to go to another executive.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, out of executive session, no action taken. This time I would entertain a motion for pay scale for interim county appraiser.
22, what was it, 2237?
37.
2237?
Be the step B.
Step B on the pay scale. I'd make that motion to have the interim pay scale at 2237 an hour with, at the current, and go ahead and give a name. Yeah.
Yeah, already put her in there, so.
Okay, with the interim being at 2237 for Nikki Reed.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion by Randy, second by Dave. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
That be retroactive to when we wanted it.
Yes.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Clear.
Okay.
Okay. In my own head here for a second. So, we need to go back into an executive session for review of applications as it applies to the county appraiser. So I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss,
You'd be to review employment applications under exemption number 1 for personnel matters.
so it's still number 1.
Mhm.
So, review applications for item number 1, personal matters of non-elected personnel, for
30 minutes.
30 minutes with the board. I'm gonna go ahead and include Tina. Pursuant to KSA 75-4319.
Second.
All those in favor?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Is that an aye?
It's an aye.
Okay.
It's very weak aye. It's an aye.
An aye on the in favor?
Yes.
Okay, and so that's 30
5-0.
minutes, and so it's 10:47 right now. So
Okay.
that'd be 11:17.
10:50 on my.
11:20.
Okay, so back at 11:20.
Yeah, that's easier for me to watch.
Okay. Okay, camera's on. Everything's on, including sound. Just not recording.
So he's got 2 jobs right now. Carl Miller's got 2 jobs.
Okay,
You're back
your
on.
meeting's on.
Those were the
Hey, don't mention any names.
Good hear things. I'm gonna play Kim.
You have to shut the mics off. It's coming through the speaker. I'm like, it's pretty loud. I thought it was my phone.
know, when you put it that close to that microphone, it is pretty loud. That's what I need on the lawnmower, maybe just put it by the microphone to come up to my ear. I can't hear it when I'm up lower.
We're getting mowed done.
No, it's true.
I didn't want Bluetooth because you could hear it.
Yeah.
So it's for everyone who's on the meeting right now, the commission came out a little bit early, so they're just waiting until the appropriate time to come out of the executive session, so we're not doing anything at the moment.
I think I got 11:20 now, so, on my.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So, out of executive session, no action taken. I think at this point, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Go ahead, Diane, go.
Diane, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay.
We're adjourned.